If we give you the vaccine, you may stop shedding it, but you could still catch it off someone else who is shedding it. So we have to keep giving you the vaccine, which means we have to keep testing you. We have to keep checking your blood, which means every time you go into a supermarket or into a shop or whatever, you've got to give a little prick and they analyze your DNA to see if you're not infected. They also see what you've been drinking, what you've been smoking, anything else you've been doing, what your sexual activity's been. Everything about you they get from this, of course. And they do this every time you go in to purchase anything, anywhere. That's what they want to do, folks. You think about this. This is where they're going with it. This is where they're going with it, folks. This is a full-blown Hunger Games type society that they're doing. So it's a full beast system. And with the social distancing, the interesting thing is, it's slightly different in all countries. Some countries it's 1.5 meters. Some countries it's 2 meters. Some it's 1.8 meters. These are all metric countries, of course. The United States isn't metric. In the United States, it's 6 feet. And they tell you not just 6 feet sideways, but 6 foot in every direction. So they display it as a pyramid with everybody 6 feet apart from each other. And there's the warning, folks. When you see the 666, when you see the scrying mirrors, when you see the sigils, this beast system is about to come online and you have to make a choice. Right now we have a choice. And we're in a position where we could quite easily, shut this whole system down. We have a choice. We could easily stop using the scrying mirrors. We could easily tear up our credit cards and we could burn our masks. We could shut the whole AI system down. We could shut down the internet. How many people are prepared to do that? To shut down the internet, shut down all the scrying mirrors, and just go back to being human beings again. Because we have the opportunity to do that. We actually can physically, we have the physical ability to shut this whole system down and go back to normal. And we're always given that choice. How many people are prepared to do it? That's the question. How many people are prepared to do it? But they got you walking around wearing masks. The irony, folks. All the yuppies in LA and Sydney and all these yuppie people scared of the COVID. These same people who would go to a nightclub, they'd snort cocaine cut with 15, 16 different toxic chemicals through some, old worn out $50 note that's been stuffed up some stripper's ass crack. Never worried about the germs or bacteria. And now they're running around with masks on because they're scared of the terrible COVID and they're standing 6 feet away from everybody else. Oh, the irony. It's got to the point, folks, that COVID-19 is no longer a pandemic. It's become an IQ test. It has. It's become an IQ test. If people can't see this, it's become an IQ test. But yeah, they're pushing it. The headlines, Victoria COVID-19, how bad can it be? I'll tell you how bad it can be, folks. It can be as bad as little Danny Andrews, the hunchback, wants to make it. Disgusting little toad of a man. But yeah, that's how bad it can be. It can be as bad as the government wants to make it, as long as the people of Victoria comply and start wearing these masks and don't push back. But everybody's just scared of the brutality will be meted out to them by the police, which of course is a real thing that will happen. But if you had some unity in your community, which is what I've been saying, so many years, folks, if you go back and listen to my shows back in 2008, 2009, I've been saying we lack common unity in the community, because if you know all your neighbours, if you have a united community, when this situation happens, you will all stand up together. But if you don't have a united community, when the lockdown comes, it's going to be every man for himself, and no one will get through. in that way. No one will go through unless when they see their neighbours being harassed by police for going outside, they go and stand up for their neighbours. You know, and then the other neighbours come out and stand up for those neighbours, and all the neighbours come out and they all stand up for each other. You know, that's the way through. And that's what I said way back when I started, back in 2008. You know, how bad could it be? Well, you know, you got the point of workers being threatened with jail, 20 years jail if someone in their business catches a cold and dies from it. And you've got a situation where the government is installing respirators in hospitals, and we know that 80% of the people who've been put on these respirators have died. Well, it's a pretty desperate situation. That's how bad it can get, folks, and that's how bad it is getting. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And think about all the 5G and all the other stuff they're doing as well. I mean, the amount of control they're going to get through this. I was thinking about this the other day, actually. When they put all the 5G towers in with the smart meters in everybody's house, how easy would it be to put a localized EM pulse through someone's house? I don't know if anybody's thought about that. You know, all of our stuff's digital now. So much stuff is digital. They want you to put digital locks on your doors and things. What would happen if you put digital locks on your doors and they hit your house with an EM pulse and all your digital stuff shut down? And for all the people who have guns and keep their guns in gun safes, because you're told you've got to keep your guns in a gun safe just to keep it safe. But safes are different now. Safes aren't generally combination locks anymore. Safes are generally digital locks. So what if you hit a house with an EMP pulse and the digital lock on the safe was fried? It may be battery operated. Hey, put another battery in there, but it doesn't matter because the circuitry has been fried from the digital pulse. How do you get your guns out of the gun safe? You ever get the feeling you've been set up, folks? You ever get the feeling they've taken every single contingency into account and they've planned for it? And the only way to really get through this is to get back in touch with what it means to be a human being. Real world stuff, mechanical stuff. If you're going to have a safe, get an old combination safe that doesn't require electricity, doesn't require a battery. You can just open it because you know the combination. Things like that. They're talking about changing landlines as well. They want landlines to go over to like a VoIP system so that it's actually the internet. That your phone, your home phone, your landline is actually hooked up via the internet now. So you get rid of all this copper wires and all this shit, you know. During a power blackout or a crisis or any type of emergency, when electricity goes down, you can still call people on your house phone because it has a current running through the line, like 1.5 volts or something. There's a current running through the line. So when there's an emergency, the communication system is still up. If there is an emergency, an earthquake, a hurricane, any type of emergency at all, EM pulse, anything, and the grid goes down, now the communication system will go down as well. So when that happens, you will not be able to call anybody. If they shut you out, they do an EM pulse on your home, they lock you in, they lower your social credit points, they lock you in your home, or whatever they do, you won't even be able to call anybody on your landline because the landline will be hooked up to the internet and they will have disabled that for you. So that's the problems that we're facing, folks. I mean, where they're taking this is next level. Absolutely next level stuff. Hey, Billy, what do you think, mate? You've been dancing this morning. You want to do a dance for everybody? Do you feel like doing a dance? No dancing, huh? Maybe we'll sit down here for a minute and he might do one. You never know. But yeah, like I said, it's become more of an IQ test than anything else. A lot of people are speaking up. I mean, I don't get to see a lot of what's on social media anymore because I'm banned from so much social media. A lot of the Facebook links that people send me I can't open. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. Sometimes I can open them and watch for a little while and then it locks me out. I mean, it's just weird. I don't know how they work it, but some of it I can watch, some I can't. I've had a massive amount of support from people around the place. There's been so many people that have been using snippets of my work and making little videos, like, you know, the Video Advice channel and Anonymous and all sorts of great people have been doing it. I saw one the other day that someone had taken snippets of a video of mine. It must be at least 10 years old as well, and made a video out of it. So thank you for that. It was interesting when I listened back to it. It's from like 10 years ago, and there's a lot of stuff in there that's actually quite relevant to what's going on today. But, you know, it wasn't hard to predict. You know, we could all see it coming, and here it is. But yeah, I mean, this is really the final battle for freedom, folks, what we're facing right now. If we continue to comply with this, I mean, it's slavery. It's a slavery system that they're rolling out. It's also a torture system. You know, the putting on of masks, the social isolation. This is torture. This would do psychological damage to people. That's another thing that the people that wrote to me from Canada are very concerned about, is the amount of psychological trauma this will cause them and their family just to return home when they're quite well, healthy people, being told they're putting them into quarantine, and it's not quarantine, it's house arrest, and actually forcing them to do it themselves and pay for it themselves. Why can't they just go home, stay home for 2 weeks? Oh, probably because they're not Minogue. Danny Minogue came home, I believe, from overseas somewhere, and of course went straight to her house on the Gold Coast or Brisbane or wherever she lives, Sydney. Yeah, she didn't have to go into quarantine because she's Danny Minogue. She's a celebrity. Interesting how that works, isn't it? You know. But I'd be saying, no, well, look, no, this is all unconstitutional, and that's what people have to understand. It is unconstitutional, and it's this whole government is a corporate system anyway. It's a corporate system, folks. I mean, the mere notion that a corporation could have any control over a living man or woman is ludicrous to the extreme to begin with. These people are just standover merchants, racketeers, and what they're doing is a major depopulation operation, and they've done it time and time again. I've shown you before that they've had these flus every 100 years. They depopulate the world every 100 years. There's Billy is doing a little bit of a dance for us. Oh, he turns around. Every time I put the camera at him, he turns around, don't you, Billy? What are you doing? You're going to give us a little shake or what? What's happening, Billy? It's a lovely little display. Billy's only 3. He's got a tiny little display. It's only about 3 feet high. His father, Keith, who's normally here, who I haven't seen for a few weeks, I'm a bit concerned about because he's been here every day ever since I've lived here. And he hasn't been around for about 3 weeks. His display is about 6 foot high, like as tall as I am. And he's a wonderful Keith. He lets me play with his feathers. He follows me around, eats out of my hand. He's a lovely peacock. But he's sort of gone wandering at the moment. Well, Billy's going to do a dance, is he? Is he going to dance? You going to dance and spin for us, Billy? Come on, Billy. Do a little dance. Here he goes. Almost a suggestion. No, he's just showing off a little bit, but he's very proud of his display. Billy's only 3. And here's Speckles, and that's Hutch, doing a little dance over here as well. Hutch is only 6 months old. He doesn't have any display at all. Well, and there's Speckles doing one as well. Speckles is actually dancing for the chickens. Hey, Speck. But they don't have any plumage at all, the little ones. They're only 6 months old. But anyway, completely off topic there with what I was saying. Completely off topic with everything. Suddenly I'm talking about peacocks. But yeah, this is a soft kill that's happening here, folks. Depopulation through starvation. Really totally moving us into a Hunger Games type reality. Soon, if you haven't got the vaccination, you won't be able to do anything. That's the way they want to push it. And they'll only get away with it if people comply with it. And people are only complying with it out of fear because they're afraid of their own personal power. They're afraid to say no. They've forgotten that what they're dealing with here are just people. You're not dealing with the office of government or whatever. You're dealing with people, men in suits who are standing there doing this stuff to you. You know, and you're just putting up with it because, you know, you're not united with anybody around you. And most of the people around you are programmed by the television and they're living in fear. You know, but as I've said before, ignorance is a choice these days. It really is. In this age of information, ignorance is absolutely a choice. And if people don't want to wake up, well, you know, there's not a lot we can do about it. The best thing you can do, anybody can do, is to really start being grounded in themselves. I mean, and not just gathering food and preparing all that sort of stuff. Just be grounded in themselves. And as I've often said, you've got to be prepared to face infinity without flinching, folks. That's the only way to get through what's happening, is to walk the path of the warrior. You do what needs to be done when it needs to be done, and you are prepared to face infinity without flinching. That's the way through this. I mean, if you really want to, get down to it, even Jim Morrison said, because people